Now we're going to start on the neck. Now as you can see, this is what we're going for eventually. We're going to find some pieces that will allow me to glue them and stack them up. So we have 3 pieces here and 2 here, so that we can cut out a neck that has an arch to it, that the end of it is tilted down, the tail. So we need to find boards that we can do this with. Now, one piece about 26 inches long will give me all of these. However, I beg you to please take a look at my scrap bin and see if we can find pieces here first. The nice thing, again, about the ukulele is it's made out of a lot of small pieces, so I don't need the big 12-foot boards to get this cut. All of them are 2.5 inches wide, and that is a rough size. We'll cut it down a little bit later, since the glue joints don't always match up perfect. But 2.5 inches wide, like this one's 14.5, this one is 6.5, and these are 2.5 or so. I'll give you the exact measurements here in a moment. But I can find that in the scrap bin. For example, this one right here would work. The one thing you do want to watch out for, if you can see it on the camera, you can see right here where this is really rough. This is flat here, but then it gets rough. Try to avoid that because it doesn't make a good glue joint. So look for sides that are nice and flat and smooth. So this one may not be ideal. So this one right here has 2 flat sides, and I see a knot, so I don't want to use that, but I can get a 2.5 and 2.5 out of this. So that'll be fine. This one right here should be long enough for my 14.5, and I can cut it straight out of here, and I'll get rid of this bad edge. And we just keep looking for pieces until we have enough for what we need. Make sure all your pieces are jointed, they have one good edge. Come to the table saw, set it to 2.5, and you're going to cut all of your pieces with the jointed edge against the fence. That's critical because we don't want this rough edge on there at all. Here at the chop saw, we're going to cut length. Now, none of these have a good square end. Though they're cut and they feel smooth, I have no idea if it's actually a perpendicular end, square. So I take it to the chop saw, and I'm only going to cut off a little, like a blade width. Now notice when I did that, I used my left hand to cut, even though I'm right-handed. I just do not want to hold it like this with my arms crossed, and my left arm is in the way. So just use your left hand, that's fine. But now I know this is square. My first measurement is 14.5. 14.5, slide down. Okay, now this one's too short, that's fine. I've got plenty. So we grab my next one, trim it. Slide it down, and now I cut 14.5. And I could probably throw that away. So there's one. The next one, the medium-sized one, is 6 inches long. 6, start. There's 6, and I can cut. So there's my next one. And now I need 2 pieces that are 2.5. Now I know that 2.5 is very small, and I know you're worried about your hands being in there. But I promise, as long as there is nothing in line with this blade right here in the middle, it's not going to hit you, it's not going to do anything. So I'm going to put my fingers off to the side right here and cut. There's 1, 2.5. Slide down, do the exact same thing, cut. And there's my last piece. Now we're going to come to a table and grab one of these thin melamine boards. They're found under the chop saw behind me by the advanced room. This is what we're after. So we have to glue this together. We're going to put 1 clamp here and 2 clamps here and glue it. Now the whole idea of this is not to get glue on my table, so please be careful. Okay, first let's do the 6-inch. It doesn't matter what order, it really doesn't. This is where less is more. I need to cover everything with a layer of glue. This is where your finger is going to come in. I don't need so much glue that it's going to drip everywhere and make a big mess. So use your finger, spread it out all over the place. Make sure every surface is going to get glue. Because we want it to sit tight, we don't want any gaps or voids. And then stick it on straight like that. Fairly even at the end. And just kind of wipe the glue off. Then take your clamp, hold it down so it's nice and flat as it can be. Remember, this is still a little oversized, so we're going to cut down some of it. Okay, and another one here, nice and tight. All right, so it's nice and flat. Great, now we move on. Now, with the 2.5s, we're going to do the same thing, but be very careful that the grain is going the same direction. So this is end grain, and this is edge grain. I don't want it this way, so they are opposite. The grain's going in opposite directions. When it comes to cutting and sanding this, it's going to become a nightmare. So make sure the grain is going the same direction and the same direction on your piece. So all the grain is going this way, not up and down. All right, so we do the same thing. Put a bit of glue there, right there, and I just take the blocks, put them together, and just move it around a little bit so I can kind of spread it, and then I do the same on the other one. So there's not a lot of glue on there, but every surface has some. And then put it together, edge and edge, that's fine. Set it down, and now we glue the surface. And do the same that we did before with our finger. Kind of spread it out all over that area. Right there. All right, now we're going to take the piece and again, make sure that the grain is going the same direction. That's end grain, so it's got to go this way. Edge, edge, and we're going to glue it on the exact same side that we glued your 6-inch piece. So you kind of have to hold it in place. It's hard. It'd be nice to have an extra hand because that tends to dip, but I kind of hold it on my hip or my leg and push it there. Take your clamp, keep it as lined up as you can, though it can be off a little and be okay. Nice and tight. Put a lot of pressure on that, and there's your piece. We need to let this dry at least a half hour. A little more would be nice. You know, over the weekend, since I see you every other day, just let it dry and then we'll start cutting out the shape.